All right, Zero. So we are at the end of the year. So that means we have to go through our year in review wheel to discuss what we're going to discuss about what happened in the year 2022. Zero, are you ready?
Yep, let's do
A
this.
little more excitement next time, but okay, we'll take it. All right, let's go. Boom, 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 boom. GameStop's continued woes is our topic. GameStop. I think it was the year 2020 where they had the whole GameStop thing that happened, correct?
Yep, that was where just you had people on Reddit who basically just pushed back on investors who were hoping for the stock to be shorted,
Yeah.
but ended up over leveraging their positions. So you had that happen, and then somehow just it turned GameStop from being a garbage tier stock to like an insanely crazy, a overvalued stock. It was kind of a weird fall and rise, and now it's sort of trending back down to a equalization point of the stock trying to find a value that it's supposed to stay at.
Yeah.
It's been a whole weird saga.
It has been really weird. And I think the weirdest thing about it is how these people had such nostalgia for GameStop. Because I gotta tell you, and I think you're the same way with me. I have been I've been following the gaming industry and people who love gaming for decades now. And the one constant that I kept hearing, not only just recently, but in the 20-25 years, is how much we all hated GameStop. Like, I don't know anybody, except for people who say, hey, the people that work at the GameStop I go to are kind of nice. Which, fine, that's fine. There are decent people who work at GameStop. But honestly, I've never had positive feelings about GameStop. And when the digital revolution was happening, there was a timer that was conveniently placed to where if GameStop didn't change, it was going to go down. And 2020 seemed like that was going to happen. And then this GameStop thing happened, and it completely inflated what GameStop's worth was. I mean, they got a huge cash infusion. They started getting other business people involved. Reggie Fils-Aime was on the board for a small period of time. They suddenly had a resurgence. And when we were talking around that time too, and we basically said, they need to do something to save this company, because just relying on this is not going to help. And this led to them going the NFT route. Do you remember what happened with the NFTs this year?
Oh yes, just NFTs have just become such a terrible, terrible situation, especially with just a lot of NFT projects being either scams or weird pump and dump schemes that end up being some sort of variation of a fucked up Ponzi scheme.
For GameStop to then take a good amount, what they did was they put a good amount of capital into an NFT marketplace. And when they opened the marketplace, about a week before that, they immediately started laying people off and closing stores, which isn't the sign of a healthy business. I hate to say this. And if reports have been said correctly, they have been losing cash. They have lost almost $100 million during their crypto efforts. And they're now dropping the crypto market on GameStop. Like, it failed utterly in this. I guess really the thing that go on is that GameStop is continuing down the slide that they've been going down for, I would say, the last 10 years?
Yeah, I'd say so. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned about just how a lot of people have had mostly distaste for GameStop.
Yeah.
And I think it's mostly just from a lot of the corporate policies that were set by the higher ups to basically force the grunts on the ground to basically sell to potential customers, like the constant work tee up sells of, hey, you're buying this game today. Do you want to buy a game warranty on it? We'll cover it if anything happens, and if the game breaks when you stick it into your system. And of course, you could tell most of the GameStop clerks were either in one of two camps. Camp one, you could tell just by them looking at you, they were just like, I am so sorry that I'm telling you this.
Yeah.
I have to. It is my job, or else the manager's going to bitch and say that I'm killing the metrics if I'm not. Or if it was the manager that did not like this, you could tell it was I'm just doing this just in case my regional manager sent a secret shopper to snoop around and see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Just bear with me. Just say no as usual and whatever.
Yeah.
So that was one camp, and then you had the other camp that drank the Kool-Aid so hard, and they just like, oh, but you never know, the game could arrive completely damaged in the box, and you're sitting here going, well, if it's damaged in the box, the warranty is not really going to be needed anyways, because I'm going to look at you and go, I need to exchange this copy for an undamaged copy, because when I opened the box, the disc had a large gouge on it.
Yeah. I mean, at times when I hear, oh, look at what these employees have to do, it's their job, okay? I mean, at one point, it's hard for me to feel sorry for people to do their jobs. But on the other hand, I understand it, because the people they get that work at GameStop aren't necessarily salespeople. They're people who say, wouldn't it be great to talk about games all the time with a bunch of people while selling it to them? That's how they think. I hate to say this to most people, but retail is, in the hierarchy of jobs that you can have, one of the easiest jobs you can do. It doesn't take much. All you're doing is putting stuff on shelves, taking people's money, giving them change. And then, some customer service where you're helping them with something. That's it. That's all you're doing. So it's meant for low-skilled labor to do that. I think that's been GameStop's problem, because what they do is they hire people who have no intention of actually being salespeople, and to get better at being salespeople with not enough incentives to be good salespeople. And they keep hiring people that essentially don't want to do that work and who are largely ineffective. Yeah, I feel bad for people who work there and go, I know you're not interested, but I have to ask. And yeah, I understand that. I really do. I do get annoyed at the employees who know who I am, and this is why I stopped going to GameStops. Like, I get annoyed at the people who know who I am and know that I'm just here to buy a game, or if I really want to pre-order something, I'll do it. And then they keep asking, and they keep asking, and they keep asking. Because I used to work in banking, okay? If you had a customer that would come in all the time, and I'm talking like every day, every 2 days, every 3 days, is a constant, someone you see all the time, and they keep asking you, can you stop asking that? If I want that, I will let you know. Seriously. When you have that type of customer, you just make them happy and go, that's fine, I understand. And if a manager comes up, why don't you pitch them? Goes, he's here every day. I've already talked to him. He's not interested. That's all you got to do. That's all I did in banking, and that's all you really have to do is get better at it. But I can still sympathize because, one, these people are not being paid very well, so why would they give a shit? And two, they're not given an incentive to get better. Except for, if you want the hours, you're going to do it. And most people are going to be like, well, fuck you then. I'll just find a better job.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I did a part-time job stint over at GameStop.
So did I.
1 year. And yeah, I remember just trying the old tactic of, well, this person comes in all the time. They don't want to be bothered about it. And I got reamed by the manager for just not asking because I was hurting the metrics of the region. And it was one of those things that I just had to quietly roll my eyes on my break time and everything. But yeah, it was so bad. It was just kind of a, just brute force this thing. We promise someone will take the sale. It's just like, yeah, you're not offering me enough for my time to learn how to get good at selling.
Right. And I've really never been, including the one I worked in, I have never been in a GameStop or heard of a GameStop that had good management. Maybe, that may be because of the higher up management. But I have never walked into GameStop, spoke to a manager and felt like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. Never. I have never been there. Like, and that's what makes me feel really bad for the underlings, the ones that I should come up with better names, because underlings is kind of derisive. But for the entry level position people, I feel bad for them because they have to deal with the most bullshit, and they're not given enough of incentive to improve. And that's one thing I learned in banking, is that if you don't give them the incentive to improve, they're not going to. Like, and if you threaten their job, oh, you have to, or else I'll fire you, they'll find another job. Like, it's not that hard. It really isn't. So that's been the key problem with the business model, or the model of employees and stuff with GameStop, and how they've tried to get employees. Because if you want them to be sales employees, you have to get people who are good at sales. And they hire people that are not, or they have people who are interested in that job that are just not interested in being salesmen. They really are not. But let's get into, I would say, the bigger picture of GameStop in the past 10 or 15 years. And it's that I think they stuck to the video games business a little too long. There are some stores that I recall maybe 10 years ago that would sell, I don't know, a plushie or two, or Funko Pops or whatever. They didn't start getting really into it until about maybe 5 years ago. And I think that was too late on their end. What do you think?
That was right about the time that they finished the buyout of ThinkGeek, and then started to integrate the ThinkGeek business into their GameStop stores, because like after the integration finished, and I want to say within like arc of 2 or 3 years ago, you would start seeing stuff that was clearly from the ThinkGeek side of the house. Like you could go into a GameStop, and on top of like video games, video game related like merch and plushies and Funko Pops and stuff like that, you would also find things like a kit to make a potato powered clock, just things that you would clearly go, oh god, this is something that was sold on ThinkGeek like years ago. Wow, what the hell? This has like absolutely nothing to do with video games. What the fuck is it doing here?
Yeah, like, why are they having Funko Pops is my question. Yeah, maybe some that have something to do with video games, but they have like Marvel Funko Pops, DC Funko Pops. They have Funko Pops for like Battlestar Galactica, stuff that really has nothing to do with games. And they're trying to become a pop culture kit shop to a certain extent, but that's not going to work either, because you can get that stuff easily on the internet, and no one cares about that. Like, people care, but they have ways of getting that if they're into it.
Yeah, and I think another thing that they've been trying to get into is potentially doing yet another remodel of the stores to promote stuff like basically being kind of like a local LAN cafe as well too. So an area to sort of hang out, play video games on nice high-end gaming rigs and high-speed internet, or somewhere that can be like a local host to sort of like small-timey grassroots tournaments and stuff like that. So like if you've got like a small community who's running like fighting game tournaments, and you kind of want like a smallish venue, then you can, the idea that GameStop has is that you would have like a tournament official who would end up kind of like booking time at a local GameStop store, going, yeah, I want to run a small local city level tournament to, just to run a, I don't know, a Guilty Gear Strive tournament for like a prize pot of maybe $100. So you basically have a tournament official who pays for that, and then the tournament official then tries to kind of make back up whatever they paid to rent the land portion of the GameStop store. And at that point, they collect their tournament fee of maybe like $5 or $10 per entrant. So that way, the tournament runner gets their part of the deal. And of course, just while this tournament is going, the GameStop also has like a beverage and snack area. So, you've got competitors who can go, okay, yeah, sure. I lost in my pools and didn't make top 8, but no big deal. I want to stay and watch the end of the tournament, see who wins out. But damn, I'm pretty hungry. I'm pretty thirsty. I could go for a snack, and just what a convenience. This local GameStop has bottles of Mountain Dew and Monster energy drinks right there for the taking. The GameStop is selling in cans of Monster for $4.50 a can, and you've got things like candy bars and protein bars that are like priced at $3 to $6 per, and boom, there you go. They're raking in pretty high margins on these snacks, and that's kind of one of the LAN party sort of hangout spot ideas that GameStop has had. And even still, just with the post-COVID world, it's been kind of hard to run tournaments because there's still some people who are very hesitant to go to a tournament and everything, especially with the health concerns of just a lot of these GameStop stores that are trying to turn themselves into LAN centers. They're not in very, very big locations either. They're honestly in locations that are very, very tight and jam-packed. So that's a problem with a lot of the GameStop stores too. And if you were to hold a very big tournament in one of these stores, it'd probably be a violation of whatever municipality's fire codes that are there for that sort of thing. So for me, it has me scratching my head, especially when they had announced sometime last year that they wanted to go into the esports angle and LAN cafe sort of angle with the GameStop stores, because again, honestly, I just don't see how it's possible. In some cases, like my closest local GameStop store is in a very, very, very cramped location in a strip mall, and I just don't know how in the hell that location would be able to turn itself into a LAN party store location. I just don't see it. And one of the other locations that's somewhat nearby is a GameStop that's in a local mall, but again, same thing like the one that's located on a strip mall or shopping plaza complex and everything. The one inside the mall is super tiny, and I just don't see a LAN center magically just popping up out of that either. I don't. And I just don't know how this whole esports angle is going to work. There are logistical problems to be solved, and I don't think that GameStop is going to magically turn around and go, okay, well, we want to do this LAN esports thing, so I know what we have to do. We got to go buy completely brand new lots for the stores, and we got to close some stores down. By the way, we've also got to pay for movers to move all the inventory and make sure that, we get an accurate count of the inventory so nothing gets stolen during the moving process. There's just way too many moving pieces for this. And as much as I think it would be an interesting point to see the culture of LAN cafes sort of come back in the form of GameStop, I just don't see it being financially viable for them. And with that being said, maybe they're better off just limiting this plan to some of the bigger stores, because I know one of the bigger stores in the North Dallas area is tied to a Barnes and Noble. And this particular location is humongous with retrospect to some of the other GameStops in the North Dallas area and everything.
See, that kind of makes sense, because Barnes & Noble, if people don't know, they sell a lot of board games and designer board games too. So that kind of makes sense to have those two married together.
Yeah, well, I mean, at one point, GameStop was owned by the company that owned Barnes and Noble. So,
Huh.
and then at one point, basically, GameStop wanted their independence, so they're just like, yeah, we'd like to kind of buy ourselves out, please. And they managed to do that. But this one particular store in North Dallas, even after the separation, they've still kept the stores interconnected. But yeah, I mean, the land center idea, I could see working for places like that where they do have a large location that, yeah, they could probably compress down some of the shelves and things like that and make room for kind of like a land cafe setup where they've got like some primo gaming machines, maybe a couple areas that have some of the nice maybe BenQ esports gaming monitors. So like if you're bringing in your own PS5s or Xbox Series X's to do like LAN tournaments, then you can just connect your system up and do some esports action. Maybe that, but I know that the LAN cafe tournament center idea was something that they had put out, I think, a PR blast last year that they wanted to try to deploy to all of their stores. And yeah, just when I saw that announcement, I was just like, yeah, I don't know how you're going to do that for the locations that are stuck in like a tiny strip mall store location, or a store that's got a tiny ass lot inside of a big mall or something. You're not going to suddenly have them go, oh, well, we got to sell our small lot and immediately go find a new big lot, and then just get inventory moved, pay for movers, and then we have to remodel the inside of the store so it looks like it's all about esports and stuff like that. And we have to also requisition monitors and other esports related technical gear. Just, I don't see it.
Right. And the other thing with GameStops too is the amount of things that get stolen at GameStops is fairly high. I mean, it's been like 15 years since I've worked there, but I hear a lot of people still complain that stuff gets stolen from there all the time, not just from customers, but from employees too. How are you going to stop people from stealing monitors, setups, controllers, things like that, with employees that are making minimum wage? Like, if I was a minimum wage employee and there's a make sure no one steals that stuff, like, I'm not fucking doing that. Are you crazy? Like, you have to pour more money into this business that you have no guarantee will make more money back. And like you also said too, is there's a lot of stores that are pretty small, so not all stores will be able to do that. The other thing you have to do as well is you have to make sure that there is really good internet in those stores. So even if they have a big location, you now have to spend money on business internet, which I think is 150, 200, 250 a month. Maybe that's another expense on top of that, and then to set it up where it's the feed is broken into different computers, that's going to cost money unless you do Wi-Fi. But then if it's Wi-Fi, you're going to have a lot of latency problems. So it won't be. There is so many things in that cause complications that the only way to make it work is spend more money. And not every store can do that. But there's no guarantee it's going to work. I mean, a lot of gamers like playing games, sure. And they like playing in competitive games. But they're not necessarily competitive. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they're not the type of people that'll say, hey, I'm pretty good at Call of Duty. I can see myself winning a tournament. No, not a lot of people are like that. You're speaking to a niche upon a niche of people. So to build a business around that, where you're going to get strangers to walk in and say, hey, I want to be in this tournament, I don't think that's going to work. I think that's not going to work out for you. Because all that's going to happen is these people are going to get humiliated and never want to come back. So that's another issue on top of that. I think we're going to see GameStop close more stores down and fire more employees by, I would say, summer of next year. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd probably be a plausible guess. And I think the whole esports center idea is a bit half-baked as well, too.
Oh, God.
Especially because of the fact that I think one of the points that they had made was, oh yeah, we can potentially have a revenue stream come in from like concessions because people are going to want drinks and snacks, so we can offer like drinks and snacks while people watch and spectate a tournament that's going on, or if they get knocked out of the tournament and want to keep staying until the end of the tournament, then just they can pick up snacks and drinks from us, and snacks and drinks are high margin items, and it's just like, yeah, but while they're high margin, they're not significant margins either. I mean, sure, you can charge like $4 to $6 for like a can of energy drink that might maybe be like $1 a can or something, but even then, you're only just making a couple bucks, and you'd have to sell a significant amount in order to go, hey, look, this is like a major profit maker. If it ends up you only sell like maybe a 20 or 30 cans from an esports event for an energy drink, that's not really in the realm of thousands and thousands of dollars.
No. And they're not free of cost either, because if you're now going to sell drinks and you're going to sell food, that brings upon another thing you have to worry about, which is you have to make these stores as... Maybe I'm wrong in this because these are all processed and they're in cans and in packaging. But if you're selling food, I think the government has some sort of regulation that you have to abide by in order to make it as clean as humanly possible for people to consume food. So, like, if they're going to sell, like, if it's, I might be wrong on this. Like, if it's open container, like, let's say popcorn or something, or hot dogs or something like that, you then have to hire people who are good with food and stuff like that. That might not be what you're talking about here. But
yeah, I think at minimal for like packaged food, there would have to be a control process to make sure that you've got employees regularly doing inventory to see, what's out of date or what's getting close to out of date. So that's yet another thing to train employees on. And GameStop employees are underpaid and overworked as it is.
Right.
And
I don't see that working.
yeah, and exactly. I just don't see like enough GameStop employees giving a damn being paid barely minimum wage to take maybe one day a week to go, okay, we got to do expiration duty and see if we've got any old Snickers candy bars that are out of date. We got to look at cans of Monster and see if these cans of Monster are starting to get out of date. It's just another headache to add to the mess.
But according to Wikipedia, as of right now, there are 4,573 locations as of January of this year. That's gone down. I know that. So let's say 4,000 locations of GameStops as of the end of this year. I can see that dropping 25% by the end of next.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with the fact that just GameStop isn't really just the only place to buy video games these days. You've got Walmart and Best Buy getting competitive with pricing on video games, and even in a lot of occasions, just plain edging out GameStop on just video game pricing, because I've seen situations where there'll be a brand new video game that just released, and even though it just released, Walmart is just trying to get rid of them immediately for the shelf space to get whatever the newest hot game is coming out in the next week.
Yeah.
So that game might have like a discount of anywhere from $10 to $12 off of MSRP immediately on launch day.
Yep.
And the offer's it's one of those in-store only sort of offers that if you see the game in the shelf marked with this discount, you can get it with that discount. But if you were to say order the game online, the game's online listing would have it at like full MSRP.
Yeah. And that's going to continue in stores like you said, Walmart, Target, and the like. Unless they come up with a killer idea. Like, I see a lot of the board cashing out, possibly. And I see a lot of these stores closing and then employees being laid off. This is just going to go downhill more and more we'll see by 2025. If I'll be generous. By 2025, I think we're going to see the end of GameStop. I think it will precipitously go down unless they decide to do another stupid idea to waste money on. I think if they just stay the course right now, 2025, they're done.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see where their path takes them, especially since I think one of the really damning pieces of their situation was the fact that they had Reggie Fils-Aime on their board, and then there was news that he had ended up dropping out of their board, and then he ended up making a PR statement that essentially translated to, "I tried to give the company my advice. They thought my advice was just a bunch of fluff, so I figured if they don't want to listen, okay, I'm done. I guess I'm out."
But we don't know what that advice was, and we won't know because I think there's an NDA involved with him exiting the company. To not listen to Reggie Fils-Aime, who had a successful turn in both Pizza Hut and a Nintendo, I don't know. Maybe his idea was terrible, but something tells me that in my mind, management is probably looking to cash out sometime soon. At best, is what it sounds like, or just die with the ship. Thank you for listening to this podcast segment. The Capital Games podcast is done every week, and we post it on all your favorite podcast apps, as well as segments on YouTube. If you want to listen to another segment, you can listen to a new one right there on the screen. We also do a movie podcast called the Capital Games Movie Club. If you'd like, you can go ahead and click on that and see all the movies that we have reviewed from that point. Thank you for listening, and we hope to hear from you soon.